All right, we'll call this regular meeting of the Kodiak Island Borough Assembly to order January 22nd at 6:30 p.m. We will begin with an invocation by Captain David Shadow of the Salvation Army.
Let's pray. Dear gracious God, thank you for bringing us into 2026, and we thank you for our community. We thank you for its people, its resilience, and the responsibility entrusted to those who serve here. We thank you for the spirit of cooperation that neighbors have given each other over these past few weeks and this season. Through storms and unpredictable weather, we know that the community comes together and neighbors help neighbors, volunteers help each other out in this community. We pray for wisdom for this assembly, and clarity in decision-making, integrity in leadership, and unity of purpose as you seek the well-being of this community. God, help us to always remember the gifts that you've given us and to share those freely with the others. Help us to take our responsibilities seriously. Thank you for bringing us here tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
And now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we are gathered on the traditional homeland of the Sukpiaq-Alutiiq people, and we acknowledge the 10 tribes of the Kodiak-Alutiiq region. We recognize the Alutiiq culture that enriches our community to this day. And roll call, please.
Mr. Ames.
Here.
Mr. Gardner.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Miss Roberts.
Here.
Mr. Smiley.
Here.
Mr. Whiteside.
Here.
Mr. Woods.
Here.
Mayor Griffin.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right, next is the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the December 18th, 2025 regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion? Ms. Roberts.
Move to approve the agenda and consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Let's take a voice vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Next up, citizen comments. There are 2 designated citizen comment periods, one at the beginning and at the end of the meeting. These comment periods are intended for general comments as well as for agenda items that are not part of a public hearing. We do have 2 public hearing items tonight, which are the new winery retail license application for Friends by the Ocean and ordinance number FY 2026-16. Comments for these items will be heard when the items are called during public hearings, so please wait until we get to that portion of the agenda. For those who wish to call in, the local number is 907-486-3231, toll-free 1-855-492-9202, and please turn off your radio or any listening device to prevent feedback. For those in the room who wish to speak under citizens' comments, please come to the podium and sign in, turn on the microphone and make sure the green light is on before speaking and speak directly into the microphone, and then state your name for the record and address all remarks to the assembly as a body and not to any member thereof. And we have a call. All right, let's take the call first.
We're now answering a call from the queue.
Assembly meeting, you're on the air. Please state your name for the record.
Good evening, Assembly members. My name's Brenda Schwanis, and I have a few ideas I would like to share with the Assembly this evening. The first one is, I took a pretty long break from participating in government issues, but then decided to start paying attention again because I'd heard some stuff changes. So I started trying to listen to some city meeting stuff and borough meeting stuff, and I had to listen to the city meetings on my phone at the same time that I was trying to pay attention to what was going on in the borough meetings. And there was even at one point when the school district was having a meeting, a scheduled meeting, and all 3 were happening. Now I know the city and the borough, each forms of government, have been doing Thursdays for decades, and it might cause some angst to change something, but I would really love to see the service to our community members so that people can participate in issues that affect everybody. So I really ask you guys could, get together with the city and talk about that, and maybe start meeting on different evenings so our community can all participate in what's going on here. That's just number one, and thank you. The second issue, I've been really listening to the school district meetings, and they are struggling, and I'm impressed with their how they operate meetings, and really impressed by that. However, I'm pretty pragmatic. I can separate policy, good policy, fiscal policy from personalities, and I'm seeing some struggle there, cutting some of the budget stuff, and I'm really concerned that the Borough Assembly is going to, I'm not trying to be rude, but rubber stamp any budget that the school district forwards to the Assembly for a vote. And my concern is that rubber stamping or voting yes on a budget that the Borough cannot afford, it's going to trigger a mill rate increase, which the bigger problem is it's going to hurt our economy. It's going to, cause more out-migration. So I'd like to know if the Borough Assembly members know what dollar amount or formula, whatever, will trigger an increase in the mill rate. Because an increase in the mill rate is just going to trigger some out-migration. And last, I just really want to encourage consolidation. I think, it would be a great service to our entire community on our whole island to consolidate. Now, I heard the buzzer, so I just want to see if the Borough Assembly would take a lead in that effort. But good evening, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Brenda. Anyone else wishing to make comments?
Hi there. My name is Captain David Shadow. I'm with the Salvation Army, and I wanted to give you a couple of updates from the Salvation Army. First of all, I just wanted to give an update on the money that the Borough voted to give the Salvation Army this year. You gave us $25,000, and the majority of that is actually spent already. We spent about $13,000 so far on rental assistance. It's cold out there, and a lot of people are struggling. We gave out over $1,000 in heating oil assistance, and then at Christmas time, we gave out around $3,000 worth of food boxes. And so that's what we asked for this year, and we used it appropriately according to the trust that you placed in us. And on top of that, I wanted to give sort of a summary for you and for the community of our Christmas season. So believe it or not, Christmas was about a month ago already, and through one thing and another, this is the first meeting after Christmas that we were able to let you know how our season went. So this past Christmas season, the Salvation Army in Kodiak served 73 families, totaling 156 children, and 282 family members through our Angel Tree program, distributing approximately 1,248 toys and 422 clothing items to children and families in need. We also delivered, with the help of both the city and Bayside fire departments, 21 family Christmas food boxes to seniors and shut-ins across our community, and 42 stuffed animals and blankets to 21 seniors at our local care home. We also distributed 136 Safeway gift cards to local families, shelter, the Brother Francis Shelter volunteers, and congregation members, who most of whom serve as volunteers with us. Through our Christmas bell ringing campaign, Kodiak raised a total of $38,674.30. Of that amount, the Lions and Rotary Clubs together raised over $12,000, working cooperatively and generously for the good of our community. And I want to give a shout out to the Borough here. Your employees and staff did a food drive for us and helped get some toys for our toy program as well. So thank you, Borough. And to everyone else, the agencies, stores, individuals who rang bells and ran toy drives for us and food drives during the Christmas season. So what stood out most during this season was not just the amount raised or the numbers served, but the spirit of collaboration. Volunteers, service members, club members, civic leaders, and community members working together to ensure that no one was forgotten during the holidays. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Shadow. Anyone else wishing to make comments tonight? Oh, we have a call.
You are now answering a call from the queue.
Assembly meeting, you're on the air. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you. This is Michael Bach calling in. I wanted to call in tonight kind of by happenstance. I was tuning in to KMXT to listen to the city council meetings, and the host on the air was saying that for whatever reason tonight they were going to be airing the Borough meeting. City council meeting is happening right now as well. And this speaks to kind of the last point that the first caller made in. Brenda was calling and saying that it would be a huge service to the community if we were able to reconsider consolidation. I'm under the understanding that consolidation was looked at in the 90s, if my information is correct. And at that time, there was concerns about the feasibility of it, the affordability of it, how that would change the way that we manage all sorts of services like policing, what the state trooper presence is going to look like, etc. I also hear consistently from both city council members as a city resident and from Borough Assembly members that the public isn't as engaged as they would like them to be. There's an undertone of lack of participation, lack of information, and lack of attendance to public meetings like this one. And I think tonight's a great example. I was trying to attend a totally different meeting, but both governing bodies are meeting at the same time. That sets up an impossible paradigm for constituents like myself to be informed and to be active participants in the process. Both the city and the borough force its constituents to be engaged with only one of them by having public meetings at the exact same time. I would challenge both the city and the borough to work together to either find another time that works so that people can attend both meetings and be informed and have their voices heard. Furthermore, I would encourage whichever body has the foresight and the willingness to look at consolidation with fresh eyes. The 90s was a different paradigm. It's been over 20 years, and I think that we need to relook at what it would look like in order to consolidate the road system, other portions of the borough, whatever. I don't know what that looks like. I don't have all of the information, and I would argue that neither the city nor the borough either have all the information. But I will say that having a separate government for the borough and the city doesn't seem to be working. We see that both communities, even though we're one community, want change. We saw that through newly elected officials on both the borough and the city. And I think that the next step, and I would encourage those new elected officials and the old elected officials to recognize that we are walking into a new future. We need to be inclusive of everybody that's on our road system. And right now there are clear lines about who is in the city and who is not. Thank you for taking public comment tonight, and I'm glad I get to listen to the Borough Assembly meeting on KMXT. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Anyone else? Another call? Another call.
We're now answering a call from the queue.
Assembly meeting, you're on the air. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, good evening, Assembly members. My name is Nate Rose. Thank you for the opportunity to comment tonight. I apologize if my speech is a little broken. I'm fighting the crud in town. I appreciate the opportunity to comment tonight, specifically regarding the changes to the Borough Code regarding short-term rentals. My wife and I purchased our first property in Kodiak with the intention of living in it as our first home, but then it being a portfolio piece that we then utilize for passive income. And I've spoken with previous assembly members in the past about my stance on this, and I just ask that in your wording and in your review of Borough Code, you remove any ambiguity that might be placed, which might allow any elected official or anybody in power to potentially not approve or revoke a permit, a zoning compliance permit, in order to operate a short-term rental. In looking at the language proposed in section 17.15.120, you see that the change has been from upon receipt of a certificate of registration or certificate of exemption, a certificate of zoning shall be issued. And the next sentence that it will be replaced with leaves a lot of room for a frustrating process for the general public to try to gain that permit. If there's extra hoops to jump through in an outfit that we already operate, it just makes life a lot more difficult. I urge you guys to consider, a stance in this where government allows free enterprise to operate as free enterprise. And I appreciate you guys' listening and your due diligence on this matter. So thank you.
Thank you, Nate. Anyone else? We might have one more call. Nope. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for making comments. Let's move on. Next is awards and presentations. We have an award presentation for the Employee of the Quarter. Seema.
Thank you, Mayor. This award is presented to encourage outstanding job performance and exceptional delivery of borough services by employees and to recognize employees who demonstrate exemplary work and service performance. And I'm super excited to be the one presenting the award tonight. 3 staff members were nominated by KIB employees for Employee of the Quarter. They were Juniper Roman from Assessing, Lexon Data from Finance, and Cody Pascal from Assessing. All 3 should be congratulated on their nominations. This quarter, we are proud to recognize someone who truly goes above and beyond in everything they do. Their hard work, reliability, and willingness to support others did not go unnoticed. They embody our values and set a great example for those around them. Please join me in congratulating Cody Pascal, our Employee of the Quarter. In addition to this recognition, I would just like to add that Cody received an award for Professional of the Year by the Alaska Association of Assessing Officers, which means that Cody was voted to get that award not only by my office, but over 100 other assessing employees statewide that are members of AAAO. So congratulations, Cody.
You did a good speech.
Congratulations, Cody. All right, next up are committee reports. We'll just move down the line. Are there any committee reports?
None of my committees have met. I did miss a meeting with the Providence Committee while I was traveling, but I don't have anything to report.
Right. Thanks, Jeremiah. Dave, nothing? Scott?
The Solid Waste Contract Committee met. We went over changes that Patricia Valerio had made to the presumptive code changes that won't take place until June of 2027 with the new contract. There were no concerns about that, seemed like a well-worded document to everyone that was there. And that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
And nothing to report.
Okay. Bo?
Yeah, just a slight expansion on the solid waste contract committee meeting. We also invited Alaska Department of Fish and Game, Division of Wildlife. So they came in and shared their thoughts about how we can be proactive in modifying the language for the RFP for bear awareness areas and maintenance on roll carts for the bear-resistant carts and a lot of other ideas the folks there at Fish and Game were helpful with. Patricia and Cody have done a fantastic job with modifying or amending the code, draft code for us to consider and separating out language that was pertinent to the borough and then leaving the rest for the contractual language for deliverables. So I think they've done a great job, a lot of hard work there. So I commend them for that. So that's something to keep an eye out if you haven't reviewed this information yet. It's quite a bit to digest, so please do so.
And we'll be taking a look at it soon, so yeah, please, please read it. Caroline?
The Kodiak College Advisory Council met at the beginning of the month, still recruiting new members to join the council.
All right. And Jeff?
Nothing to report.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, well then we'll move into public hearings then. We have 2 public hearing items. The first one up is the Assembly review of the State of Alaska Alcohol and Marijuana Control Office, AMCO, new winery retail license application for Friends by the Ocean, LLC, doing business as Friends by the Ocean. Is there a motion? Ms. Roberts?
Move to voice non-protest to the State of Alaska Alcohol and Marijuana Control Office, new winery retail license application for Friends by the Ocean located at 38057 Chiniak Highway, and direct the clerk to notify AMCO of this decision.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Assembly. The application currently under consideration is for a new winery retail license for Friends by the Ocean located in Chiniak. As this is a new license application, it was necessary to present it to the Assembly. According to the investigation carried out by the clerk's office, we have not identified any issues from the departments that warrant raising a protest. We also sent out 12 public hearing notices and none were returned. Thank you.
All right, thank you. With that, I will open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to make comments about this item, you can give us a call, 907-486-3231, or toll free 1-855-492-9202. If you're here in the audience and would like to comment, come on up to the podium, sign in, state your name for the record, turn on the microphone before speaking, and address all remarks to the Assembly as a body and not to any specific member. And please, if you're calling in, turn off any of your listening devices to prevent feedback. So we'll give a minute. All right, seeing no comment, I will close the public hearing and then now open it up to Assembly discussion. Any discussion? Steve, Mr. Ames.
As I've stated in the past, I will be supporting this. It was a winery not long ago. It's been many businesses in the past, but it was a winery not long ago. They even sponsored some events that I went to, and all in all, I thought it went well and was a good thing. So bringing it back is a positive in my vote.
Thank you. Okay, all right, we'll open up for a roll call vote on the motion, please.
Mr. Ames?
Yes is non-protest, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smiley?
Yes.
Mr. Whiteside?
Yes.
Mr. Woods?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. The next public hearing item is ordinance number FY 2026-16, amending Kodiak Island Borough Code, Chapter 5.01 regarding liquor licenses to clarify the methods and basis for borough protests for issuance of a new license, renewal of an existing license, transfer of an existing license, and review of the continued operation of a license. Is there a motion, please? Ms. Roberts.
Move to adopt ordinance number FY 2026-16.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Staff report again. Nova or Lena.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Assembly. In 2022, the Alaska Legislature passed the bill that updated and modernized the state's alcoholic beverage laws, while also incorporating new statutory changes into the Alaska Administrative Code. These new regulations took effect on January 1, 2024. As a result of these updated regulations, the Borough Clerk worked together with the Borough Attorney to create an ordinance that updates the current liquor license code. We ask for your support by approving this ordinance, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you, Nova. I will open up public hearing. Again, same thing, phone numbers 907-486-3231 and or toll-free 1-855-492-9202 for anyone wanting to make comment on this item. And if there's anybody in the audience, they're welcome to come up to the podium. And we'll wait about a minute. All right, seeing no comment, I will close public hearing and open it up to assembly discussion. Seeing none, all right, roll call vote on the motion, please.
Mr. Gardner,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Smiley,
Yes.
Mr. Whiteside,
Yes.
Mr. Woods,
Yes.
Mr. Ames.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next is the Borough Manager's report. Seema, thank you for filling in.
Thank you, Mayor. In the Manager's Department, Scott Brent Erickson has agreed to continue to represent KIB as the attorney of record for all 2025 AHF determinations, as Leslie Mead is not able to. The current recruitments for ENF, we're looking for a director, a solid waste baler landfill supervisor, solid waste manager, environmental specialist, 3 treatment plant operator positions, and a temporary laborer. And in community development, we're looking for a code enforcement officer. In the Finance Department, the foreclosure process has started for delinquent 2025 taxes. The annual newspaper publication of the delinquent list is set to begin on or around February 20th. The last day to pay amounts due in order to avoid being in the publication is February 2nd. Call the Finance Department at 907-486-9324 for a payoff amount. Finance is still continuing to enter information in both the new and legacy tax collection systems and will continue this dual entry through at least February. In community development, the Plan 2045 Arts, Culture, History, and Environment Open House was today from 12 to 6 p.m. This open house focused on 2 elements of the comprehensive plan: arts, culture, and history element, and the environmental element. If you haven't filled out the survey, it is still available on the Plan 2045 website and will remain open through the month of January. The Planning and Zoning Commission held its regular meeting yesterday in the Assembly Chambers. The meeting included a review of similar use determination for Lesnoid and a conditional use permit for the hydroelectric power generation facility in Old Harbor. Both were approved unanimously. The commission also held elections for officers. Sarah Frazier was reelected as a Planning and Zoning Commission chairperson, and Athenas Williamson was elected as a vice chair. In information and technology, IT is continuing to patch and upgrade KIB systems. They are still working on updating our Nimble storage array and also deployed a new camera at the KIB entrance, which has a 180-degree field of view with audio, and have removed and updated critical network equipment from the Bayside Cares room, along with new display computers for the firefighters. IT is reviewing the submitted bids for the Immutable Backup Grant RFP that closed last Friday. In GIS, they are continuing to assist both assessing and community development with property information and upcoming public hearing notices. GIS is also providing raw street view data for the State of Alaska Department of Transportation for their Mapillary website project. In assessing, 64 senior citizens and 13 disabled veterans failed to timely file their exemption applications. As of this evening, 4 late applicants have been received so far. The Tyler conversion is the Tyler conversion. Notice of values assessing will be moving to postcard assessment notices for 2026. An example will be posted on our website, on social media, and attached to the manager's report as soon as I have a copy. And they will be mailed on February 27th, 2026. In engineering and facilities, the lift station at the Research Court Apartments were having electrical issues, and staff worked with NODAC to obtain new pumps and proper electrical components. The work was completed on December 17th. However, there is still an electrical issue with the pump 1, and that will be addressed as parts arrive. Alaska Door has completed the door 1 and door 2 for the Women's Bay Fire Department, and also has completed the maintenance of the main bay doors and replaced critical parts on the lower bailer door at the landfill. The solid waste code and contract updates, the ordinance is in progress with being reviewed by the Assembly, and on January 7th, the Solid Waste Contract Committee convened to begin discussions on the request for proposals process, focusing on the requirements they would like to include. Staff will be preparing a more formal draft and communicating over email with the committee until a final draft is ready for review at next scheduled meeting for February 25th. The Regional Solid Waste Management Plant update is due February 28th, 2026 at the landfill. KIB hosted a comment review meeting with Jacobs and the stakeholders on December 16th. A final report will be provided to KIB on January 29th, which will then be shared with the Assembly via email for review prior to the work session presentation on February 12th. On November 16th, staff was directed by the Assembly and manager to proceed with the small-scale destructive testing repairs in the lifeguard room. Staff has reached out to JYW for a cost estimate proposal. KIB also submitted the final work plan to ADEC and have received approval for long-term care fuel spill assistance. NWFF is working on updating the final closeout plan in anticipation of field work requirements for the closeout. Staff was directed by the manager to obtain a proposal for the Phase 2 work from NWFF. For Carlick's fuel assistance, the project office staff is working with 3 Tier Alaska to conduct similar work for the closure of the Carlick fuel spill. That report was completed and sent to ADC on November 25th, 2025. Based on the preliminary findings, KIB will need to hire a third party to conduct more sampling and/or install a new monitoring well. And the landfill fuel assistance project staff have submitted the update work plan for the landfill contaminated soils to ADC and expect it to be approved this week. At KFRC, Industrial Pump Alaska has shipped the pump assemblies, and we anticipate their arrival this Saturday. For the Kodiak Middle School elevator modernization work started on January 6th and is substantially complete. We have the State of Alaska elevator inspector scheduled for the first week of February. PKIMC elevators are delayed due to missing parts identified during project office inventory. Port Lions, the contractor is currently working on design and State of Alaska Fire Marshal approval for the Port Lions School emergency fire alarm panel replacement. Staff will be posting an invitation to bid soon for the construction of the Borough Park table replacement, and staff received a design fee proposal from Jensen Yorba Wall for the Port Lions School painting project. The list of contracts that will be coming up soon and upcoming meetings finish the report. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Seema. Does anybody have any questions? If you do, please make sure that they're pertinent to the information presented here in the report. All right, not seeing any. Thank you, Seema. Up next, messages from the Borough Mayor. I have a pretty lengthy report because there's been a lot going on since I was probably since Thanksgiving, because I took some time off and was at AML in December. So even though I haven't been maybe in the chambers a lot, there's been a lot going on. So it's going to be longer than maybe a typical mayor's report, but I want to make sure that I keep you up to date on everything that I'm doing. Over the past couple of months, I represented the Kodiak Island Borough at the Alaska Municipal League Annual Conference and their associated meetings, including the Conference of Mayors. Those engagements focused on strengthening intermunicipal collaborations, advancing some of our shared policy priorities, and then trying to position Kodiak to better respond to some of our ongoing challenges at the state level and then at the federal levels also. I think a consistent theme throughout the AML conference was the growing consensus among Alaska's municipalities that local governments, we have to work together. We have to work together more deliberately and more cohesively than we ever have in the past to address structural funding instability, gaps in infrastructure, and also it just seems like at times that our needs are completely misaligned with state and federal policy decisions. So I attended several sessions with some key, I think, policy areas, transportation, infrastructure, fisheries-dependent communities, defense and dual-use infrastructure, public lands and PILT, permitting and infrastructure, and then, like I mentioned, regional cooperation. So across those sessions, I try to consistently emphasize Kodiak's position as a coastal borough operating at the intersection of all of these things: transportation, fisheries, defense, and climate impacts. In fact, I think in a couple of the sessions that I and Amy attended, and then some folks from the city, we dominated the room with our thoughts and ideas, and they started to make fun of us. But I think that's a good thing because it highlights how all of these challenges are shared across the state. Some key things I think working on with building relationships with other municipal leaders and other partner organizations. I got to make some great connections with coastal and rural mayors, including those on the southwest side, Dillingham and Unalaska, specifically on transportation issues. I got to talk much with Anchorage and Fairbanks leadership and their senior staff, particularly around defense communities and what that's going to look like for us. We discovered at the conference that the federal government is looking to invest at Kodiak, and we found this out at the conference. There's there's a lot of infrastructure money, a lot of projects that they would like to do here. And so we made those connections. Well, there's somebody who works at UAF and is kind of the Fed's point person in coordinating all of those things. And so we were able to connect, and I think Amy and I have a meeting with them pretty soon. Let's see. I guess I can talk about that just a little bit more. What we found out was that federal agencies are no longer looking at defense installations in isolation. They really are looking at the surrounding communities and the infrastructure systems that are there to support them. So like I mentioned, transportation is huge, but we're talking utilities, housing capacity, of course, emergency response, workforce availability was a big part of it too. And Kodiak was repeatedly referenced in those conversations. So we were able to lobby or talk to Senator Sullivan and Representative Senator Murkowski and Representative Begich's people about how Kodiak is in that unique position, and they took notes and I think are going to help us get some things through, and really trying to position ourselves as a hub. They rolled their eyes. People rolled their eyes a little bit when I think someone from the city mentioned that we're going to be the gateway to the Arctic. But I think there's something there. So I think we have to make a little shift in how we think about the federal government. One of the more important takeaways was that there's a growing recognition that our local infrastructure deficits can limit their federal mission effectiveness. So the word we're getting is that federal agencies are increasingly open to dual-use infrastructure investments that we can all share, civilians and military and defense. So what we need to do is we need to be able to articulate our deficits and be honest about our deficits and be able to prioritize the things that we need so that we'll be much better positioned to compete for a lot of funds that are going to be open to us. So I was really encouraged from that. I mean, new infrastructure investment could be coming. It might be enough to start helping reduce the burden on local taxpayers, strengthen long-term economic stability, but it's going to take a lot of coordination. Another session was one on asset management that I think I've talked to a couple of you about, thinking of asset management as a governance tool. An honest assessment of the facilities and resources that we actually manage from conception to death, to destruction, or until we have to build something new. I saw a demonstration. AML has some resources for us. I think it'd be a good exercise for us as an assembly to do, because I think it'll change how we plan and help community development and the manager plan, how we budget. We need to start thinking about now not how much something costs right now, but we need to consider an asset management plan, access to consider how much staff time was involved putting this thing together. Not just how much it's going to cost, but then how much yearly maintenance is going to be for the next 20, 30 year, 40-year lifespan of this thing, and then what is it going to cost to replace or renew it further down the line. So this will give us, I think, a more clear and transparent picture of what projects will cost us, and what they are costing us, and what a lot of those hidden costs, like I said, staff time, are. So I think I'd like to explore that as a goal for the assembly this year. It would be nice to have a catalog of all of our assets that we can reference, and then assess whatever condition and risk that they're in. I think that'll help us align where our budget is at, and what we need, what our community priorities are. So I think we're going to be looking at that some more and throwing some trainings your way. I attended a session focused on building age-friendly communities, which highlighted how municipalities across Alaska are responding to that demographic change through coordinated planning. Sometimes we think of our aging populations just merely as like a social service issue, but I think our challenge is looking at, it touches housing, transportation, land use, public facilities, health access, civic participation, communications. And so the communities that shared about their commissions on aging, it was interesting to see how they treat aging as a community-wide planning issue, not just a siloed thing that, you know, the senior citizens of Kodiak do. It helps us coordinate across municipal departments, including not just departments, but nonprofits, tribes, and other service providers. They use their advisory body to remind us of lived experiences among seniors and kind of translate it into policy guidance for us. So so that's what I'm really interested in is, right, how can we adjust our policy? So something that we're going to be talking about at the joint work session with the city is kind of a local joint commission on aging. I think there's value in at least exploring it. Not that we have to do it, but I think that kind of coordination will help us with our planning around facilities and transportation access and other infrastructure investments too. Oh gosh, what else do I need to talk about? Been involved with school district financial conversations and have talked to them much about their multi-year planning that I think I would like to maybe partner with them on doing some multi-year planning for facilities. They're drawing down their fund balance and it's just not sustainable. So I think that we might have to explore a joint multi-year fiscal planning process with school district leadership focused on their revenue projections, their expenditure trends, and other demographic forecasts. That way, we're also as informed as they are as they're going into their budget discussions. Because I think we need a more round 360-degree picture before we get to this stage next year. Let's see. Oh gosh, what else? We need to have a discussion as soon as possible about the former Providence mental health buildings. They are sitting there. I think we need to have an honest conversation about demolition. I think Amy is throwing out some last-minute Hail Marys to see if anybody wants to take those up, but it's looking increasingly unlikely. So as something in our budget, that's something that we need to think about unless something comes in and someone comes in and fits with it. Speaking of the joint session with the city of Kodiak, we had an agenda-setting meeting a couple of days ago. This is the most robust, packed joint work session agenda we've had since I've been on the assembly. Other things that we're going to talk about, so for you to think about also, is joint advocacy for increasing liquor licenses, our liquor license opportunities, and joint advocacy around our CIP priorities. We'll be introduced to the new emergency services director during that meeting, and hopefully we'll have a good conversation about the pool, and hopefully a good, honest conversation about the pool and where to go from there. Also on the agenda is to talk about an opportunity with the city for an event on citizen education. Like some of our commenters today mentioned, education is needed. So we are going to talk about what something like that might look like have a town hall with snacks. Don't forget that, with snacks. Invite the public and let's break it down, city and borough, and go from there. Oh, I'm not going to bore you with, I've bored you already, so I won't go into the Alaska Conference of Mayors, but I am on that, and like I said, there's going to be much more coordination between mayors. We're going to have like a regular mayor meeting, so, and I think that's great. We absolutely need that. At AML, I was elected to the board of directors in the borough seat, so that's going to help, again, keep Kodiak, I think, in the mix. We got direct representation now in statewide municipal policy development. So I have a seat there. Oh my gosh, so much happened. I met with the Kodiak Regional Aquaculture Association and have talked with Mr. Whiteside about this. Also, they're going to come present to us soon. About themselves, but also proposals 170 and 172 for the Board of Fish, that it's going to affect the salmon hatcheries. And it was really interesting. And I think Bo and I have had other conversations, so we'll catch up and be prepared for that. But if you're interested, yeah, it's proposals 170 and 172, and that the Board of Fish will be taking up next month. Ooh, let's see. I think that's it that was on my report. Just want to address a couple of things that came up in citizen comments also, hopefully they're still listening at this point. One thing was consolidation. The most recent consolidation effort was between, we started, I think, late 2018, with a new consolidation effort. I was on that board. Dan Rohr, Mayor Rohr, appointed me to that. Took some time off because of the pandemic and then came back, and I can talk, offline with those folks about why consolidation just was not feasible. And so the mayor at the time decided to, and the assembly decided to sunset that committee. There are a lot of issues with it anyway, but it's always out there. But the most recent one was just a few years ago, not too long ago. But I think we eventually came to the same relative conclusions that previous attempts had gotten to. And as far as the meetings go, this today was a fluke because of the weather cancellations last week, and we can't control the city's calendar, but I think today was just a fluke. This never happens, or seldom happens, if ever, and which is why we do have other mediums to listen to meetings. But this is a one-off. I don't think something like this will happen again. But it's a busy night. It's a busy night tonight. Okay. Any questions? Like I said, I've been busy. I may not have been here, but I've been pretty busy. I'm going to take a sip of my tea before we move on. Okay, all right, moving on to unfinished business. Let me get my packet back out. Unfinished business, contract number FY 2026-25, landfill scale shack platform project with CCI Industrial Services LLC. There is a note here. Do you want me to read it, or do you want to read that? The clerk's note. Nova.
For the manager's contract?
No,
Where are we?
the landfill scale shack.
No,
This is, it's all, the motion is still on the floor, correct?
Yes, the
Okay.
motion is already on the floor, so we don't need to make motion on this one. You can proceed to the staff report, or you can proceed to assembly discussion.
Okay. Well, let's get a staff report in case there are any updates, but.
Thank you, Mayor. Contractors, staff members, residents, and a previous assembly member made comments about the scale shack platform at the landfill. A project was developed to address the safety concerns. This project was brought before the Assembly on the December 16th at the work session and the December 18th regular meeting. It was postponed to tonight. Project Manager Cody Allen is here tonight to answer any of your questions.
All right, we have a full assembly tonight, so is there any assembly discussion? Mr. Gardner.
I've kind of beat the horse with this one. This project is just way overpriced. I know these guys did a lot of work on it, but we need to scale this back, and I have it on firsthand knowledge that several contractors locally never even saw this bid for some reason, and I think this needs to go back out to bid very badly. I believe that this would be a highly irresponsible way to spend over $200,000 when we are in the middle of a pretty difficult budget setting as it is.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Smiley.
I'm going to support this. It's been through the ARB, which is a bunch of people that know what they're doing. It's been through our staff, which knows what it's doing. The costs are high, but that's the way government has to work. There are rules that we have to abide by. And I think it's probably for safety. That's what everybody says, so I'm in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Woods.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo Jeremiah's comments here. The price here is wildly too high. I do not see a proportional benefit to the huge financial outlay for a really minimal benefit.
Thank you. Mr. Whiteside and then Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. This one was difficult for me because I typically will err on the literal side of caution when it comes to staff safety, but after reviewing information from staff, from the community, fellow assembly members, I feel that there's a much more cost-effective approach to handling this platform scenario, so I will not be supporting this bid.
Okay. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. I disagree with the idea that this design could be done cheaper. That is, as was said, contracting, especially government contracting, is what it is. That being said, the ARB does a great job of reviewing designs. They do not consider fiscal constraints, urgency, necessity. They say whether or not it's a sound design. So again, it's unfortunate that we got to this point and we're voting on it tonight because, as I said in the last meeting, having sat on the Solid Waste Advisory Board for a brief time, this never came up as a need, whereas a lot of other things did. So for that reason, and absent a Solid Waste Advisory Board that's currently meeting who can provide a recommendation, I'm not comfortable spending down from a very limited fund balance, knowing what the SWAB has been talking about as some very high priority, very high cost expenses coming down the pipe. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote on the motion.
Mr. Johnson.
No.
Ms. Roberts.
No.
Mr. Smiley.
Yes.
Mr. Whiteside.
No.
Mr. Woods.
No.
Mr. Ames.
Yes.
Mr. Gardner.
No.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion failed with 5 noes and 2 yes.
All right, thank you. Yes.
So can we ask for clarification
Yes.
on how you would like staff to proceed on this? Is it done? Do you guys want us to go out back to bid? I think Cody has some questions, and we'd just like some
Sure.
clarification on how we should proceed on this.
No, absolutely. Is it okay if we hear from Cody first? And, okay, if that's all right.
Yeah, through the or AO, we just were seeking clarification on kind of what direction course correction materials difference, because it's got us per procurement rules, we have to start this whole process over, and we can't just rebid the same design for the same project. So, any changes or anything that the assembly is looking to see?
We'll open that up to the assembly, and then we can direct that to Amy and Cody. Mr. Woods.
I think my preference would be to just reject all bids and kind of kill this. I like I said, I don't really see any substantial financial investment here being a significant benefit to us at this time with what we have going on with other financial responsibilities.
So for the next project, just no more, don't move forward is what I'm understanding from that perspective. I think that's the question is like, what do we want to do next? Because this died on the floor. What's the next steps?
Right. Well, that's just, we just heard from one. Let's see if we'll try to get to some kind of consensus for you. Mr. Johnson and Mr. Ames.
I think, again, I'm one of 7 and a mayor, but my very strong preference would be before we're considering additional projects from the Solid Waste Fund, that we have a kind of prioritized list and rough order magnitude cost estimates of what is upcoming and, and most importantly, like what needs to be done and what the projected fund balances will be following those so that we as an assembly can better prioritize these projects instead of just looking at this, if I had a 5-year spend plan and this was number 2 on it, I probably would have voted different. But absent that and knowing the position we're in, that's where I feel like I need more information as to where we stand and where we need to go with these projects in the landfill.
So is your inclination then is just like Mr. Woods to reject all bids, kill the project?
Absent, if we have if we get a project list and this comes in at number 1, I would reconsider. But knowing we've got to close a cell in the next few years and some other things coming up, I don't know if that's where it's going to land on the priority list. So for me, I'd like to see what needs to be done and the urgency of each and what the projected fund balance will be before approving any new projects in the landfill.
Okay. Manager Williams, I think, has developed a process now that we can use that I think gets at that. So I think, yeah. Mr. Ames.
Having rejected this one, I think the only fair thing to do to bidders would be this project as proposed, or the bids, are all canceled. Unless we could find a grievance that this bidder did, the only fair thing to do is just cancel all bids and start over. What I would like to see if we're doing that would be, can the scale shack be made safe with less work? Is it possible to come up with a scaled down version and still deal with the safety factors that the employees are concerned about? And that would be my recommendation. I agree that a priority or a list of upcoming issues would be nice just for longer range planning. It's very hard when we just get one thing. 6 months later, we might get something else, and a year later, we get something else. So yes, I think, and not just that facility. Idea for dealing with facilities is, what do they need in the short term and long term, and so we can see have a better understanding at what we're looking at. Thank you.
Mr. Smiley and then Mr. Gardner.
What I'd like to hear is why people or employees at the landfill find this a safety issue, and more clarity on what the issue is and how a design such as this one would have fixed the danger or the safety issue itself. Thank you.
Mr. Gardner.
A couple of good points came up here. Dave, having a list of things out in advance would be really, really wise. Personally, I would be amenable to seeing this project kind of come back to the table or go back out to bid, but it's just way overdone. There's no reason for it to wrap all the way around. I know you guys had proposed 2 implementations of this, one that was cheaper. That bid was still bananas in my mind. You guys keep saying that government spending is what it is, but that's just not the way that I feel, and that's not the way that the world should be. There's a better way to do this. I think it can come back to the table, and I think it would be pertinent to bring at least one representative from the landfill to talk to us about this and tell us, what are your real problems. I know firsthand from talking to a landfill employee that we're about to have a big old issue with the floor in the main building out there where the compactor is. So, we have more pressing concerns, and if these guys can live with what they've got, that's great. But if, they say, yeah, Johnny almost fell off that and cracked his head 3 weeks ago, then it's something we should address, but there's no way that it should approach this level. And again, I'm not sure what happened, but multiple contractors told me this never came across the board, and they're supposed to be getting emails every single day about any sort of bid that is any sort of RFP that's out there, and this just never went locally. So even just sending it back out to bid, I think we should see a drastic savings just in mobilization and demobilization alone. So that's my thoughts on it. It could go many ways here, but we've got more pressing matters to tend to.
Anyone else? Well, let me get Mr. Whiteside since he hasn't spoken yet, and then we'll go back to you.
Thank you. So, I think when it comes to staff and their safety, I'm opposed to just tabling it completely or postponing indefinitely. I do feel that we should, while being sensitive to staff time and which increases termination costs, we need to be mindful of termination costs. There's a lot of staff time. I'll probably address this during assembly member comments, but as far as how we can improve our processes, we have a large area for improvement there. And how we handle this, and but for this particular scenario, I'm always in favor of staff safety and well-being over products and services rendered. We have to take care of our staff. So, I am hopeful that we can find an alternative solution for a safe approach to this platform. But I too am reminded that we have the Baylor floor project's coming up. We're going to have to close a pit and open up a new pit. We're having leachate treatment problems, discharge problems. So our costs are going to keep increasing, and we don't have the fund balance to accommodate all of them. But in the case of safety, Mr. Allen, or I can't speak on behalf of the Assembly, but my hope is that we can find a cost-effective solution, modify the RFP. I don't think we should refly this one as is, because clearly I think we all agree, or most of us agree, that this is over-engineered for what it's looking to do. So if we could maybe reach out to the landfill staff, say, hey, we need to find something that's a little more cost-effective, and see if they have any recommendations on how we could approach that, would be my preference.
Mr. Woods.
So I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody please. For us we can't just send this back out to bid as it is currently.
Correct.
Anything that would require us to reconsider the scale of this would basically have to go through a whole new approval process. So in that vein, I think shutting this down, killing it for now, and then going back to the drawing board, I think that would be appropriate. Because that then gives opportunity for people to go back through and actually do a full, to truly evaluate where this falls. Second off, I don't have a full understanding of where we're at with the specific safety concerns. I operate in a dangerous field. With that, the umbrella of just safety, period, for employees, there's some degree where you have to understand what the specific concerns are and whether or not they actually are sufficient to justify what we're doing. It's just the way that it is. I'm not saying that we shouldn't take care of employee safety, but it needs to be weighed certainly and appropriately. So I guess my understanding of how we would almost have to proceed with this would be to kill this in its entirety and go back through the design phase. I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at. Secondarily there, or tertiary, but third, whatever the heck that is. without a full understanding of what all we have going on, I wouldn't really be comfortable with this at any price figure. That could just be a me issue, but just hearing from my other assembly members how they're speaking, I think that's kind of a universal issue if we don't necessarily where we are with priorities. So I think this going about it that way would give us time to look at it, see where it falls, and to work from there. Thank you.
So what I think trying to find a relatively common through line on this is reject bids and look for ways to downscale it according to whatever safety needs that the staff, safety requirements that the staff needs. Is that too vague?
No, Mayor.
And I can talk to Amy more, we can.
It's just when we get the 4 choices there, I just need to know how we're going to respond to the contractor so we protect ourselves legally. And then
Gotcha.
Secondary to that is staff doesn't really dictate the course of this design. The ARB reviews it at the various phases. And so how we got here is a big question that I think was asked by every person. And the ARB is added to this design, and it's the reason that we have the design we have. Staff doesn't really, I guess, offer anything more than they give us direction on what they want to see, such as like we upsized the handrail sizing to meet a certain code and safety compliance. We had the grates, things like that. It was hot dip galvanized. All that direction comes from the ARB, not staff. We started with a potential for like a wood platform, right? And that was like, we'll put a wood platform up, and that was like dead on arrival. And so we started kind of where you're wanting us to get back to, but staff ran into a hurdle with the boards and committees who are the people that are chosen to make those decisions. And so it's just trying to get a better understanding of, with the new assembly, what the process is, and make sure we communicate that effectively with our architectural engineering team, because it does cost us money to have them redesign it as well.
Right. Mr. Ames.
If I'm hearing you correct, the ARB highly contributed to designing it?
Yes, 35, 65, 95, and 100% CDs. They see it at all phases.
Was there a design and plan submitted to them, and then
Yes.
they made comments? And
Yes, required changes.
Okay. No,
That's how that, I think, for clarity to all the assembly members, that's how that process works, is we get an idea that's based on something. This predates my time here. It's 2+ years old. I don't know that it was current staff concerns too. I think that's some confusion there. It was based on some previous staff, as I learned, but contractor issues and complaints from residents. And so we took that to the design team, said, hey, what can we do? Much like mill bay stairs, we had like wood stringers with metal tread was a cheaper alternative for mill bay stairs. But then it's like, well, the longevity of that is much less than if you had a full metal construction. Well, then it was like, we can get aluminum, we can get stainless. They ended up on hot dip galvanized. We just provide the a la carte options for the people that are deemed experts.
And I believe that part of the or key components of this new process that Manager Williams has developed is that we would begin to see projects at the 35, 65, 90, 100 level. So going forward, we could do that. Okay, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Whiteside.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of speak briefly to that. One of the things that I think we fail to discuss enough at the project onset is, what's called in the government as a material development decision. You take your problem, and then immediately, and it's human nature, it's every organization does it, every group of people you ever find will do it. They immediately say, what shiny thing can I buy to fix this problem? And I think with our engineering decisions, we need to take that step back and, really ask, what problem are we trying to solve first? Are there engineering controls? Are there process improvements? Are there any myriad things that could be done without building a new shiny object to achieve the same outcome? One of the examples they gave in a class I took was lights on the Washington Monument. So they were going through this multi-million-dollar project to develop these high-tech lights for the Washington Monument that would somehow, because they were having problems with bird dumpings on the lights. Bird dumping all over the monument. And so they were trying to engineer this incredibly expensive high-tech solution to cut down on the amount of bird scat on the Washington Monument. And very late in the process, instead they realized that if they turned the lights on about 20 minutes later, the bugs would have already gone to different lights. The birds then wouldn't be there feeding off the bugs. The birds wouldn't be crapping all over the monument. And so that's kind of where I think there's sometimes not saying it's not being done, but as an assembly member, I'd like to hear that conversation that took place. Like, here's the alternatives we looked at and why these engineering controls or process changes or regulations aren't sufficient to address this problem.
Thank you. Mr. Whiteside.
I'm just going to jump on it while it's fresh, if you're right with that, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
So some of the discussions we've had were, relative to this scenario of our process. Our process isn't fluid. It's not iterative, so we don't have an idea of the cost along the way, and that's how we get in these scenarios. So an idea is brought forth by the assembly or perhaps by staff, and we just move forward with it, and 2 years goes by, and then we get it back from ARB in this case, and here's the cost, and we're kind of have a little bit of sticker shock to that. But, this is how the process was meant to work. And now we're faced with a large fiscal note, and on top of that, by rejecting all bids, we still have that substantially high cost of termination. So looking at how we can modify our processes, and I know this is something that's being worked on now with the borough manager and staff. I've had a little bit of input on this, but just, I guess, a brief overview of how I feel this could look is make it a more iterative process. So we are engaged with projects from conception throughout the design phase. What are the costs along the way? Are we still comfortable with this? Is it starting, is the fiscal creep getting beyond the scope of what we aim to achieve? And that way we can keep it on. It's going to be a little bit more of an administrative burden for staff, and it'll certainly be more time that we have to spend. But ultimately, in the end, we're not wasting time and resources and taxpayer dollars on projects that we decide to not go through. And to go forward with, and then thinking about just encumbering funds. That's something that we also should look into doing, and we think about true cost of projects and encumbering funds. A true encumbrance captures everything, and the mayor touched on this briefly, and it's not just how much does it cost to buy the materials or the equipment and have it installed. What is our staff time projections for this project from conception to end? Staff time is valuable, not in just that we have a limited resource for their capacity and their what they provide the borough, but salary costs. That's a real thing that we have to factor in, and that's how we do it through encumbrances. I think we already have a lot of momentum in this area, and so I hope we can circle back to this very soon and modify our process. And I think we can remove a lot of these headaches. And with this comes strategic planning. I know the borough manager has been asking for us to develop a strategic plan since I've been sitting up here and even before then. With that comes these same concerns in that we don't know as an assembly, as far as the landfill, what are the major projects we have ahead of us? What are some projected costs for R&R for our facilities? We don't have that because we don't have a strategic plan. So this is all going to take effort, a lot of effort from the assembly and from staff, but I think once it's in place and we have that framework and we streamline our processes, I think a lot of these headaches we're having over time and waste, equally important, are going to go away. So a little bit long-winded there, but we have some room for improvement, but I think we've identified several ways that we can address these to clean things up.
Anyone else? Thank you for those. Thank you for those comments, and just also want to toss out that really also thanks to the ARB for working on this too. They it's good work that they did. It's very good work that they did. Cody, do you have enough from us? And, okay, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right, moving on to new business contracts. There we go. Contract number FY 2023-43B, extending the employment contract between the Kodiak Island Borough Assembly and Amy Williams, Borough Manager, for a period of 1 year.
Move to approve contract number FY 2023-43B, extension of the employment contract between the Kodiak Island Borough Assembly and Amy Williams, Borough Manager, for a period of 1 year.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner, and it's moved and seconded. So the terms of Ms. Williams' contract is through April 30th, 2026. However, includes language that the Assembly may elect to extend the contract for 1 year at the end of the contract period, but we have to give 90 days notice, which is why it seems like we're doing it really soon. And that date is January 30th. Okay. Assembly discussion? Oh, did you?
Just add one?
Absolutely.
Can I just say pretty please with sugar on it?
Sure. We have to go back and amend the motion now. Sorry. All right, roll call vote on the motion, please.
Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smiley?
Yes.
Mr. Whiteside?
Yes.
Mr. Woods?
Yes.
Mr. Ames?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
All right. Next up are resolutions. First up, resolution number FY 2026-11, adopting an alternative allocation method for the FY 26 Shared Fisheries Business Tax Program and certifying that this allocation method fairly represents the distribution of significant effects of fisheries business activity in Fisheries Management Area 13, that is the Kodiak area. Ms. Roberts.
Move to adopt resolution number FY 2026-11.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. A.O. Garut.
Thank you, Mayor. The State of Alaska Department of Commerce, Community and Economic Development Shared Fisheries Business Tax Program was created in 1990 to help municipalities impacted by the effects of rapidly expanding offshore fish processing industry by collecting a tax from fish processors and sharing the collected taxes with affected municipalities. Applications must be submitted annually by municipalities to receive the allocation from the program. This year, the deadline is February 15th, 2026. The Kodiak Island Borough, along with other municipalities in the Fisheries Management Area 13 Kodiak area, have agreed to use an alternate allocation method instead of the standard allocation method. For FY 2026 shared fishery business tax applications, the agreed to alternative allocation method calculation for FMA 13 Kodiak is 50% of the allocation is shared equally between all municipalities in the area, and the remaining 50% of the allocation is shared on a per capita basis. Kodiak Island Borough's population is reduced by the population of the cities of Akiak, Kodiak, Larsen Bay, Old Harbor, Uzinki, and Port Lions. Finance Director Dora Cross is here to answer any questions that you might have and give you calculations if you'd like them.
Thank you. Assembly discussion or questions for Finance Director? Mr. Whiteside.
Just saying, just for folks who might not be familiar with this, this is just a way for municipalities to share the benefits equally. You know, different fisheries are going to have boom and bust cycles depending on where you're at and what fisheries that where those fisheries land their catch, and those taxes are applied or levied to the harvesters. So this is a good way for municipalities to have a more predictable revenue stream year to year. So I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, roll call vote on the motion, please.
Mr. Smiley?
Yes.
Mr. Whiteside?
Yes.
Mr. Woods?
Yes.
Mr. Ames?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion passes unanimously.
All right, next resolution, resolution number FY 2026-12, adopting a state legislative capital improvement projects priority list for the 2026 legislative session. Ms. Roberts.
Move to adopt resolution number FY 2026-12, version 2.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. The resolution we are considering is the one in green. And this one is Seema.
Thank you, Mayor. Each year, the Kodiak Island Borough approves a capital improvement project list that contains project suggestions from across the archipelago. The process starts in the Community Development Department when they send out notifications to start process and get projects ready to be submitted to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission then forwards the project list to the KIB Assembly to be reviewed, edited if necessary, and then passed by resolution. This list is then sent to our state delegation to designate the priorities for the calendar year.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Smiley?
Did you say it was green? I think it's purple.
Purple is the federal one,
Isn't that
green
the
is
one
the
we're doing?
state.
Resolution 13.
Yeah, that's the next resolution that we'll be considering.
Oh,
Yeah,
12,
yeah.
okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may
Yes.
add a little bit here. The reason that you have a revised version before you is that we had our agenda setting with the city on, I believe it was Tuesday. There were comments about it's important for us to be on the same page. The wording in our documents are the same. So we worked with the city and also we worked with our federal lobbyists to come up with the new wording. And the wording that we updated is on the St. Herman's Harbor. So although you have a multi-page document before you, the only change that we made is pretty much on the St. Herman's Harbor. It's both on the federal CIP that you're going to be adopting next. There's some wording there that was changed, but all the other parts of the document remain intact. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Nova. Yeah, we felt it was important to make sure we had the same language so that we can consolidate our lobbying efforts. And that's number 10 on the green packet. So, any discussion? Mr. Woods is saying no, so we'll take a roll call vote on the motion.
Mr. Whiteside.
Yes.
Mr. Woods.
Yes.
Mr. Ames.
Yes.
Mr. Gardner.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. Roberts.
Yes.
Mr. Smiley.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, and then the next one is resolution number FY 2026-13, identifying federal project and program priorities for federal fiscal years 2026 and 2027. Ms. Roberts.
Move to adopt resolution number FY 2026-13, version 2.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This one is in purple, though it seems a little more periwinkle to me, but it's okay, it's okay. Seema.
Thank you, Mayor. Each year, the Kodiak Island Borough approves a capital improvement project list that contains project suggestions from across the archipelago for our federal delegation. The process starts with KIB collaborating with our federal lobbyist, Sebastian O'Kelly. After we meet with the lobbyist, he prepares a draft CIP list, which is then discussed, edited if necessary, and passed by the Assembly with the resolution.
Thank you. So what we did is the Assembly requested that we single out number 9, Defense Community Infrastructure, as its own, so those changes were made. I think that was the big one, right? Yeah.
And number 10 for the federal.
Right, oh, yes, and then, well, that's at the top, St. Herman's Harbor, yeah. But that's there, yep. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, roll call vote on the motion.
Mr. Woods.
Yes.
Mr. Ames.
Yes.
Mr. Gardner.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. Roberts.
Yes.
Mr. Smiley.
Yes.
Mr. Whiteside.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, moving on for ordinances for introduction. The first one is ordinance number FY 2026-15, amending various sections of Kodiak Island Borough Code Title 17 zoning related to short-term rental definitions, zoning, and permitting requirements. Ms. Roberts.
Move to advance ordinance number FY 2026-15 to public hearing at the next regular meeting of the Assembly.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Staff report, A.O. Garut.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, you're having your second look at the Planning and Zoning Commission's effort to modernize KIB code around short-term rentals. The commission voted 7-0 to move these changes to the Assembly. The changes provide distinct short-term rental uses, revised definitions, updated titles, updates to the different zoning districts to list both where and how this type of use is permitted in different districts, and updates to the parking requirements to ensure that the updates are listed in the parking requirements section. Community Development Director Chris French is here tonight to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Assembly discussion. Mr. Gardner.
So the way I read this was pretty much that it simplified collecting bed tax for the borough is essentially what it looks like to me. But today, several people kind of addressed this with me and wanted to get my take on it. And there's a lot of concern, I think, on one hand, people that operate Airbnbs and such are worried that they may not get their permit for some reason. And on the other hand, there's the people that want to see less Airbnbs in general. So I think I have no problem with this, the way that I read it, but some people in the public do, and I think a little bit of language clearing up when and why your permit may not be accepted. Obviously, you know, we're just talking about zoning here, but the public is scared that they're not going to get their way, and I'm not sure if it's miseducation or what, but I think some language that clearly states a situation where your permit would not be allowed and is outside of the use of just the zoning language, I guess, might help the public feel better about this.
So are you looking to amend, make a motion to amend the code?
I'm just trying to express that people came to me with concern today, and the way I read it, I had no problem with this whatsoever. It seems fine to me. But I'm just saying we may want to take their feelings into consideration and just a little bit of language to, I'm not even sure what sort of language to use. This literally started to fall into my lap a couple of hours ago, so I'm just expressing what was expressed to me.
And that was brought up in citizen comments. I see a couple of members. Is it okay if we hear from Mr. French before, or would you like to jump in now, Mr. Woods?
That's what I was going to ask for.
Okay.
To hear from Mr. French.
Okay. And then we'll get to Mr. Whiteside.
So I did hear the comment in public comments today. So the zoning compliance permit is already required, and it's not actually required from section 1715-120, which I think was what was discussed at the public comment. So what's in there now in 1715-120 kind of doesn't make any sense. It talks about a certificate of zoning. We give certificate of zonings when zoning changes are made, so changes to the property zoning. So that's not something you would give with regards to approving someone's change of land use. So the code, in other sections of the code, so not in 1715-120, talks about a change of land use as one of the items that kicks in the need for a zoning compliance permit. So irregardless of what this text says, a zoning compliance permit is required if you are going to change it, say, from just a single-family home to a vacation home or to a homestay or any of the short-term rental uses that are defined in this ordinance. You still need to get a zoning compliance permit. And so what we would look at for a zoning compliance permit for pretty much all these uses is, do they have their bed tax? If they are going to be a short-term rental use, they need to have registered for bed tax, so we need to have that registration from them. And is that specific use listed as a permitted use in the zoning regulation or whatever zoning district they're in? Now, the only use that we have currently in the code that requires any kind of special permit is vacation homes in the R1 district, it requires a conditional use permit. That's not being changed here in what's proposed. That's currently required today. All the other short-term rental uses, it's based on, is it a permitted use in that zone, and have you registered for the bed tax? Some also have parking requirements, so whether you meet the parking requirements as well, that's something that's currently required. However, we did clean that up in here in terms of the specifics there.
Thank you for that. Mr. Whiteside.
Thank you. That's my understanding as well. This doesn't restrict any property owners from pursuing using their residence as a short-term rental. I think what this does is largely modernizes the language in the code to reflect current language used across municipalities, not only in Alaska but the lower 48, just to kind of get us with the times here. But I agree. I don't think this limits anyone in any way under our current code. So if those folks are still listening, hopefully they can rest a little easier. And that's not what this is looking to achieve, to place any restrictions ahead of anyone wanting to continue to operate a short-term rental or those who wish to do it in the future. So just want to make sure folks were clear on that.
Anyone else? Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to Mr. Whiteside's point, and I think I'm probably a good one to speak to it in the sense that I've been pretty vocal in my opinion that short-term rentals in this community do need to be regulated. And so I can appreciate that that's been it's been something folks have been hearing from these guys now for a while. So they see short-term rental regulations on the agenda and wonder if this isn't a backdoor way of trying to accomplish that. And I would say that I'm a big believer in transparent and open government. If there was an attempt to limit or reduce short-term rentals, I would want that to be very clearly stated, both in the title and throughout the ordinance. Trying to sneak a change in isn't good government, and I wouldn't support that, even though I do support further regulation. This is, as was said, just an effort to clarify and update existing code and bring that into alignment. So hopefully people are reassured to that effect, but I can understand why people are naturally apprehensive when they see things like this come up, having heard previous conversations. So I can appreciate it for sure.
Cool. Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Whiteside.
Sorry, just a quick one. I forgot to add, thank you, Director French, for continuing to modernize code. And if you don't mind passing that along to P&Z, y'all have done a lot of great work with this. Appreciate it.
All right, roll call vote on the motion.
Mr. Ames.
Yes.
Mr. Gardner.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. Roberts.
Yes.
Mr. Smiley.
Yes.
Mr. Whiteside.
Yes.
Mr. Woods.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion passes 7-0.
Next ordinance up is ordinance number FY 2026-17, amending various sections in Title II Administration and Personnel, Title IV Service Areas, and Title VII Elections to prohibit holding multiple elected offices. Ms. Roberts.
Move to advance ordinance number FY 2026-17 to public hearing at the next meeting of the Assembly.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I will toss this over to the originator, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. I asked for this resolution, or this ordinance, to be introduced because as our current borough code reads, if a service district is in need of oversight, that is the responsibility of the manager. So when we get citizen complaints about work not being done, the Assembly does not have a role in overruling the service district. That is the role of the manager. So if you have a service district member who also sits on the Assembly, they're subordinate to the manager in their role as a service district member, yet they supervise the manager's evaluation and compensation as a member of the Assembly. That creates a conflict of interest, not a declarable one by our Assembly rules, where they would have to declare a financial conflict of interest, but it puts our manager in what I believe is an impossible situation. As I said earlier, I'm a big believer in good governance, and Making someone a subordinate and a supervisor because of dual hats isn't fair to the process, and it isn't fair to the manager. So while we have nobody in that position now, I felt it was a good time to address it. My hope is that my fellow assembly members would recognize that that is a pretty clear and unarguable chain of command issue, and that it's a situation that needs to be addressed and a loophole that should be closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I neglected to check in with the clerk, Nova, on this, even though it says staff report, not Nova Javier Borough Manager. So did you want to chime in before I come back to the assembly?
I don't have anything else to add. I worked with the borough attorney on the language, so it has been vetted by our borough attorney, previous borough attorney. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I saw Mr. Ames first and then Mr. Smiley.
I'm a bit torn on this one, saying as their districts are having trouble getting people to serve on them, and they are somewhat independent, so if they choose to elect someone, are we stepping on their rights? I also understand the chain of command issue. I'm not sure the opinion of one assembly member should be able to push the manager very much, because the manager should respond to all 7 of us. And so any one individual should not have that much power to intimidate the manager. So at this point, I see both sides of it, but it also, we're voting to forward this, as I understand it, to public hearing. We are not accepting it or anything else. And therefore, I think I will have to vote to forward it and see if the public has comments and weigh them in the consideration also. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smiley. And then Mr. Gardner.
It's really hard to get people to run for office in this community and to vote. I think the last election we had was 21% of the registered voters, some number like that for sure. This will disenfranchise people from running for either the assembly or for another position within the borough. I think it's easy to write a piece of code that says that if you are, for instance, the part of a service district and it comes up to an issue with the manager, that you have to set that one out. I think that's pretty easy. I just don't like the idea of foreclosing on people's ability to run for office. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner.
Yeah, just to echo Mr. Smiley, I guess I feel the same way. If the public wants to go out of their way to elect somebody, we're in a situation where I think everybody up here knows how difficult it is to get people to run for even simple things. So if somebody's willing to do double time and serve on multiple things, I think it's our responsibility to call it out as a conflict of interest when and if that arises. But I see no point in limiting someone's involvement in local government.
Mr. Whiteside.
Thank you. I can appreciate folks not wanting to limit others pursuing elected office. However, so my time here on the assembly, we've had numerous members of the public come forth and with complaints with their respective service areas. And the problem that this is looking to solve is that when you don't have a clear line of authority to lean on, your process doesn't work. So who does the public go to? The public has been going to the assembly. So when the public comes to the assembly and they're looking at us for direction, they have 2 different avenues to go to, when ultimately we need to funnel folks, when they have a complaint, they go to one person. Now, if that one person is beholden to someone, to Mr. Johnson's point, if the borough manager is that person, but at the same time they are making decisions and judgments based on service area performance or complaints, while also being evaluated for their performance, their salary, contractual increases, everything associated with that by someone sitting up here on the dais. Now, I agree 1 out of 7 doesn't dictate what that looks like, but that person can certainly influence what that looks like. And so I think having this clear delineation of authority solves 2 problems. So the public know exactly who they need to go to for direction when they have an issue with a service area. I think the public deserves that. We've noticed in the past couple of years this has been an issue, that the public doesn't know who to go to when they have a problem with their service area. We can provide that with this amendment. On top of that, removing that potential conflict, I think is always a good idea. When you have conflict of authority where one person can influence the other one's decision-making based on potential retribution, that's something we should always be mindful of. And honestly, I'm not aware of how often this even occurs. I mean, I understand we don't want to limit people doing this, but how often have we had anyone serving this many roles? I don't think this is a common occurrence to where we're going to derail our service area by any means, or the assembly. I think there's going to be people running for the assembly. There's going to be people pursuing serving their service districts because people care about their community. So a little long-winded there. I don't see that being a problem in future elections if we were to adopt this code, but it will certainly result in clarity for members of these service areas who have been looking for direction on how they can address complaints and get things done. And removing any conflicts, I think, something we should always work towards.
Mr. Woods and then Mr. Ames.
I can certainly sympathize with being put in a weird position where you may be subordinate to somebody who you have to certify for something. For example, I'm a firearm instructor. If my boss comes to me and goes to qualify and he does not pass, it is my obligation to not pass him, which is feasible and potentially may happen someday. Thankfully, it hasn't happened yet. My boss is a good shot. But understanding that sometimes it's okay to be put in uncomfortable situations, what's not okay is not to voice that, in this case, in an open forum. To speak to the point of the public not knowing who to contact about their service districts, that's common, and frankly, it's not, to me, it's to me unsurprising that we get those phone calls. I got one like 2 weeks ago for a service district relating to a roads issue. Reason I think we get those calls so much is they put our phone numbers online. We're easy of access. And frankly, people may just feel more comfortable speaking to somebody that they know. Right, wrong, or indifferent, yeah, we should be on the same page of who to direct them to. I can sympathize with it. However, I'm uncomfortable limiting other people who may be qualified to serve multiple roles from actually serving those multiple roles. Thank you.
Mr. Ames and then Mr. Whiteside again.
The whole service area thing, borough manager, assembly, in the past has been put into some very strange and difficult situations, even ones that were not elected to both, in the fact that they've gotten very distinct directives and done what they've wanted to anyway. One case of which ended us up in a lawsuit. So there's a real question, no matter how this goes, what the borough manager assembly can do per se if the service just does it how they want. So I don't know if this is going to deal with that or not. In general, I am against it, but as I said, this vote is whether to let the public comment. And I believe, using the word transparency or whatever, the public has a right to comment. And so, therefore, especially the people who live, when you live in a service district, you have a right to comment on this in particular. So I will vote to let this move forward, but I will state that in general, I'm not in favor of it.
Thank you. Mr. Whiteside.
Thank you. Just, I guess, a quick point of clarification. I probably did a poor job in communicating one of my points is it's not necessarily who to contact, it's who has the authority to supersede service area decision-making. So, for example, if a member of the community in the particular service area comes to us, it should be to the manager with a complaint because a service was not performed that they felt should have been performed. The manager has the authority to supersede the authority of the service area chair. So they can say, okay, this was brought to our attention, this did not happen. That person gets to make the determination on whether or not to utilize borough resources to perform that service in lieu of the service area making that determination. So that's what I'm getting at. It's not necessarily who to contact. It's who ultimately has the authority to make that final decision on behalf of someone in our community. So I think it's very important that we have that clear separation of authority between the borough manager, which I feel should be the person having that decision-making capacity, and not have to do that while also considering how that is going to be perceived potentially by someone in an elected office that can influence that person's position. So hopefully that was a little clearer. But I agree, Mr. Ames, we're not quite there yet as far as how we want to approach this, but we should certainly move this forward for public comment.
Anyone else? I'd like to say a couple of things. In terms of getting people to run for elections, I think virtually every borough assembly election has been contested recently. I can't really speak for the service area elections so much. But we might have to look at the record for that one. The second point, and I think I might have brought this up last time, good democracies have in place restrictions on who can run for whichever office. If you live in the city and you're on the assembly, you can't run for the city council. It's clear conflict of interest. If you're on the borough assembly, you can't run for the school board. You can't run for state office. You can't hold state office. And we do those for some very particular reasons, conflict of interest, to ensure the credibility of the line of authority, especially if that line of authority includes financial decisions. So it's status quo that we have placed restrictions because it protects the system. So I wanted to point that out. Also, I do want to point, yes, I would like to see this also go to public hearing, but at the same time, the public can comment on it now, if they want. So I just wanted to, throw those things out there. I don't think this is, I don't see it as throwing a wrench into who can participate and who can't participate, but we have to have guardrails, to protect what we do here and to protect what the staff does here too. I'm also very interested to see, if this does move on to public hearing, what further public comment that we can get about it. Okay, ready to vote? All right, roll call vote on the motion, please.
Mr. Gardner,
No.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Smiley,
No.
Mr. Whiteside,
Yes.
Mr. Woods,
Yes.
Mr. Ames.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion passes with 5 yes, 2 noes.
Thank you. All right, the final ordinance for introduction tonight is ordinance number FY 2026-18, amending Title 8 Health and Safety, Chapter 8.25, Solid Waste Collection and Disposal. Ms. Roberts.
Move to advance ordinance number FY 2026-18, version 2, to public hearing at the next regular meeting of the Assembly.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Staff report, A.O. Garoot.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff, in collaboration with Solid Waste Contract Committee and the Borough Attorney, have prepared a draft ordinance to update the Borough Solid Waste Code. The intent is to revise the code first and then align the new solid waste contract with the updated version, not the existing one. Most contract-specific language has been removed from the proposed code, allowing the borough to focus on enforcement authority, while the contract will address operational details. This approach ensures the code and contract complement each other seamlessly rather than imposing operational controls on the contractor or retrofitting new provisions into the existing agreement. The ordinance includes an amortization section to allow property owners time to adjust practices to comply with the new requirements. The existing code will sunset when the current solid waste contract expires on June 30th, 2027, creating a clean transition point for both the borough and the contractor. At the June 13th, 2026 work session, Assemblymember Johnson asked clarification about Section 8.25.100B exceptions. Staff did some research and updated that particular section to better align with ADEC's requirements for exceptions and cited the appropriate 18 AAC 60 State of Alaska Solid Waste Management Regulation. Patricia Valerio, Projects Assistant, is here to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Hope you're able to read this riveting 60-page code revision. So any assembly discussion or questions? Mr. Gardner.
I just want to say you did a great job on this, Ms. Valerio. I read through it. Excellent at kind of condensing this into a much more digestible manner. So thank you.
Mr. Smiley.
There are a number of things that go along with this. The difference between a request for proposals from the contractee or a bid is pretty interesting to find out what the differences are. In this case, if we have a request for proposals, then the contractee will tell us what they can do and how much it might cost, and we can then argue about the cost on it and whether or not we want them to do it that way, rather than force us to tell them how to do everything, as we had in the last contract. Patricia's editing of this has been profoundly good and makes it a lot easier to read. There is something horrifying about that much red print. And it just keeps you up at night. You wake up with a cold sweat and think about it. But she's managed to calm it down with some very nice blue prose. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Mr. Whiteside.
Thank you. I'll echo Dr. Smiley's sentiment here. This is very well prepared. And I agree, shifting from an ITB to an RFQ allows a lot of flexibility for potential contractors to determine what their delivery of services could look like. And it also gives us the opportunity for staff to hit pause. So if we can get this out, Patricia has done a great job communicating. The earlier we can get these materials ready, that gives us more time for any potential amendments. So if we put out the RFPs, we get it back, there's something in there that we want to modify, we have time to do that. Whereas in ITB, you're fixed. You're fixed in that language. You can still amend an ITB, but it's far easier to address any changes with the RFP process. And separating code language in the code that's strictly relative to borough processes and services versus contractual languages in the RFP, I think was a brilliant idea. So I will certainly support this. If you haven't read this yet, please do so. It's coming up very soon, but I will certainly be supporting it.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, roll call vote on the motion, please.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. Roberts.
Yes.
Mr. Smiley.
Yes.
Mr. Whiteside.
Yes.
Mr. Woods.
Yes.
Mr. Ames.
Yes.
Mr. Gardner.
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, and our final item tonight is an assembly review of the State of Alaska Alcohol and Marijuana Control Office, AMCO, the new hotel motel beverage dispensary tourism endorsement application for Islands Hotel LLC, doing business as Chart Room. Ms. Roberts.
Move to voice non-protest to the State of Alaska Alcohol and Marijuana Control Office, AMCO, new hotel motel beverage dispensary tourism endorsement application for Island Hotels LLC, doing business as Chart Room, located at 236 West Rezanoff Drive, and direct the clerk to notify AMCO of this decision.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Staff report. Nova.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Assembly. This endorsement application is directly related to the Chart Room liquor license number 600. Endorsements are quite new and arise from the changes to the statutes that became effective in January 2024. In simple terms, endorsements act as extra permissions linked to the primary beverage license, and they cannot function independently from the primary license. We have conducted our investigation on the primary license, and we did not receive any objections to the approval of the endorsement. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Nova. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, roll call vote on the motion.
Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smiley?
Yes.
Mr. Whiteside?
Yes.
Mr. Woods?
Yes.
Mr. Ames?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Motion passes unanimously.
All right, and that brings us to our final citizens' comments for the night. For those who wish to call in, the number is 907-486-3231, toll-free 1-855-492-9202. If you call, please make sure you turn off your radio or any other listening device to prevent feedback. And to the one person in our audience who wishes to speak under citizens' comments, so we'll wait a few seconds for a call. We do have one.
We're now answering a call from the queue.
Assembly meeting, you're on the air. Please state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Brenda Schwantes. Good meeting tonight. Thank you. However, I appreciated hearing Mayor Griffin discuss the consolidation issue and providing a little bit of history about the city and the borough meeting recently. I'm just really interested in what I thought I heard Mayor Griffin say is that both the city and the borough agreed it was not feasible. And maybe I can be corrected if that is incorrect. And if that is true, if it wasn't feasible, there must be some minutes or some notes, a record of those figures showing that consolidation isn't feasible. And I would sure like to see those. The second, and I'll be asking for that information at some point because I'm curious. I'm really interested in consolidation. The next question I have is about the rezoning for the short-term rentals. My question is that going to create more administrative burden for the borough? For example, is that a full-time position? Is that a part-time? Do you need new software to run some kind of program? Is it going to cost more than it's going to generate revenue? Is there a projected forecast for that? And then the enforcement costs as well. Because there will be some people who follow the code, like the unpermitted ditches, like we've got in District 1. People apply, get denied for those unpermitted ditches. And then some people just do it. And then the borough can't enforce the code. So what is it going to cost to enforce the code? That's my question. And hopefully, the Assembly has some projected forecast for the costs associated with the new regulations, which are, generally create a lot more layers in government. But thanks for the good meeting tonight. Good evening.
Thank you so much, Brenda, for calling in. Anyone else? All right. No more calls, so we'll move on to Assembly members' comments, and we'll start down with Mr. Woods.
First and foremost, I want to point out kind of an attaboy for our deputy clerk there getting her MMC. That takes a tremendous amount of work. I am somewhat familiar with that process, having known a couple clerks in my time. And just well and truly, congratulations, that's a big deal. And really, that's all I had.
Thank you. Ms. Roberts.
I'll echo that. Congratulations. Thank you.
Mr. Whiteside.
Congratulations, Carolina. That's great. Your hard work is certainly paying off for our community. Thank you for all of that. And thank you, Nova, for your leadership in helping her achieve that. And happy birthday, Dr. Smiley.
Mr. Ames.
Congratulations. And then I'd like to really thank the planning and zoning and this whole borough staff for coming up with some good proposals that took a lot of time and energy. And I'll be meeting with some of them personally just to make sure I have a clear understanding of everything they've been talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ames. Mr. Smiley.
I'll begin with my first year. I can review each of my 80 years. We'll only be here for a little while.
Put that 3-minute clock up, please.
Start that clock, yeah. 80 is an earmark year, I guess. 21, 30, and 80, I guess, are the ones. So some people are unbelieving that I've reached that age because my hair is dark and not white. But if you look at my skin, it's awful, so you can tell that way. At any rate, I'm still kicking.
Thank you, Mr. Smiley. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor Griffin. I wanted to reiterate the congratulations to Lena, also to Cody for his well-deserved Employee of the Quarter recognition earlier. Thank our staff. I know a lot of work went into the materials that we saw tonight, and so I want to make sure that they know I'm very appreciative. Wanted to also thank the clerks for immediately getting the link to us on the consolidation. I plan on reading that because I'm not convinced there wouldn't potentially be gains there. And so I always say, smarter people have done this before me, so I want to see their work and figure out why I'm wrong. We talked a lot tonight about our processes and where we can improve. We touched on some big ideas within the systems engineering world. Life cycle cost estimates, building to budget, gold plating, all things that are big topics that I probably mistakenly assume people are well-versed in, but that I see as a concern, and I think that's where our process for these projects has a lot of room for improvement. And with that, I have no further comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Gardner.
Congratulations, Lena. Happy birthday, Dr. Smiley. I never would have thought you were 80 since I'm half your age and I have way more gray hair than you do. You look great. Just want to say thanks to all the staff. You guys are just awesome, and you're kind of the grease that makes all these wheels turn. Really, really appreciate you. And I also am very much looking forward to seeing an email about the minutes on that, any consolidation materials as well. So thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. The next Assembly work session is scheduled Thursday, January 29th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. I will be traveling, taking a group of teenagers to a conference and then also legislative experience down in Juneau. So I'll be meeting with our legislative delegation while I'm down there too. And then there's a joint work session with the City Council scheduled February 3rd, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. in the Kodiak Library multi-purpose room. Keep that in mind, we're in the library that night, not here. The next Assembly regular meeting is scheduled on Thursday, February 5th, 2026, at 6:30 p.m. in the Borough Assembly Chambers. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
It's moved and second, a voice vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned at 8:40.